Okay, questions? No? At this time, you should have more or less this table in your notes. But two fixed poles, one left plane 0, or fixed poles means fixed frequency poles. The Q, the quality factor, the damping factor changes with the load, but the frequency stays constant. And with the two complex conjugate poles, a fixed frequency, and one left plane 0 into the output capacity. Then we derive the boost transfer function, that is two complex conjugate moving poles, they depend on duty cycle. One right left plane 0 moving, depends on duty cycle and load, and one left plane 0, at least some good news, and it's fixed, the output capacitor. Buck boost is similar to a boost in CCM. We didn't derive the expression, they are slightly different. I think poles are the same. No. The important on this column is this one. This is the important one, the important most used port for this CCM. Boost converter is used in CCM in PFCs, but we don't need to worry about right left plane zeros, moving poles, because we stay at very, very low frequency in CCM. Not switching frequency, this bandwidth frequency and our control system. DCM, we found this morning, this expression, that is the important case, buck boost DCM, and the other DCM converters have a similar expression, not the same expression. The zero is still the same, the gain changes, and the frequency of the pole changes depending on the shut it off. Shut it off. Thank you. Those are the two important cases. What happens if due to a change in your load, you move from CCM to DCM? Well, if you move from here to here, it's okay. It's not very nice, but it's okay, because your transfer function changes. Your compensator, your control system, your feedback design was adapted, was tuned for this case. It's not exactly the same for this case. So you lose performances, but in some way your converter still can work. On the other hand, and this happens every time you go from CCM to DCM, you lose performances, dynamic performances, but your system still works. If you go the other way around, that means if you start from a DCM design and you move to CCM, why? Because, for example, your load becomes heavier, you take more current, your load resistance goes down, you move to, for sure, to CCM. It happens that you get troubles, because you get two poles, one right left plane 0, and it is guaranteed the new system will be unstable. So going to CCM to DCM, you lose performances. Going to DCM to CCM, you lose from here to here as well. This is a no, you lose stability. And if you go from here to here, you know what happens, but nobody designs buck converter to work in DCM. It's basically useless. Okay, so far so good. Now, we will still have to prepare a second table like this, with buck boost, DCM, CCM, etc., for another kind of control. But before going there, I would like to see how to design the feedback method around a control, around the control. I told you already, we have here a converter, switching on converter, with here V in, here V out. I measure, I sample, okay, V out, I have here so-called compensator or controller, let's call it controller. And the controller generates the waveform switching on and off this converter. Switching on and off the switch of this converter and keeping the output voltage constant. This technique, well, I measure only the output voltage, is called voltage mode. Let's see what is here inside. Let's expand, zoom in into the controller. That is feedback class, basically, something that you learn in feedback class. The controller has something like this. You have an amplifier. I indicate here just an amplifier that compares a reference voltage with the output voltage. It checks, it measures if the output voltage is equal to the reference voltage. If it is not equal, it means that something is going wrong. I have to take action. So here I have an error signal. That is telling me, oh, you are going too high, your output voltage goes down, decrease the output voltage. That means decrease the duty cycle, or your output voltage is too low, increase the duty cycle. I have this error signal that is still an analog signal, because you see here we have two voltages, two time continuous voltages, and if I take the difference of these two voltages, and maybe here there is a transfer function, C or S, something like this, there is a transfer function, we will detail this in a moment. I have still a continuous time voltage that is telling me, going good, increase a little bit, increase more, increase, come on. Oh, okay, that's enough, let's go down to the duty cycle. And here I need a variable duty cycle, fixed frequency variable duty cycle. So, between this error signal and the signal going to the turn on and off the switch, I need to insert a converter, a PWM modulator is called, pulse width PWM, a modulator that takes as its input a continuous voltage going, an analog voltage going in a range, and gives me as an output a square wave whose duty cycle depends on this error signal. And this is called pulse width modulator. Actually, M usually means modulation, but in this case it's modulator. Okay, let's go first with this one and then we'll go for that one. The PWM modulator is a block that has a gain because it has an output and an input. What is the output of this PWM circuit? Square wave, but the information carried by this square wave is duty cycle. So the output is my duty cycle, actually from a circuit point of view is a square wave, and the input is voltage, the error voltage. So what is the dimension, what are the dimensions for this PWM modulator gain?
1 over voltage.
It's 1 over voltage, it's a reciprocal of voltage. Okay, I like it. Because if I multiply the gain of this modulator times the gain of my converter, what is that? What are the dimensions of converter gain? Voltage. So I multiply 1 over voltage times a voltage, I get the dimensional system of any dimensionless gains. PWM modulator is made this way. It's very easy. We need sawtooth oscillator. And this means a waveform. It is something like this. I will change it in a moment, but right now. More or less should be periodic. Periodic waveform. Sawtooth because it's not symmetrical. There is one slow rising edge and one fast climbing down edge. And I call it the TR triangle. It's not a triangle, it's a triangle, it's a non-symmetrical triangle. And I go with this sawtooth waveform into a comparator. the inverting input of this comparator, or comparator, not comparator, or other applications, comparator. On the inverting input, I put the sawtooth waveform, and over here I put the big arrow. That is a time continuous analog signal going up and down slowly. For example, my big arrow could be this one. Slow moving, etc. This comparator makes a comparison. It's a job. Makes a comparison between the two voltages and gives me at the output a logic signal that is high 1, but I don't like to call it 1, it's high voltage. If this is more positive than that, and is 0 for low voltage level, if the negative input is more positive than the positive, the non-inverting. So my output, I don't want to call D, because D is a number going from 0 to 1. My signal over here, we gave it a name, Q, I think. This Q signal switching function, but you don't find usually this name on the literature. This Q signal, QD, that is the output of the comparator, is basically, let's see, here we start. The input signal, the arrow signal is larger than the sawtooth, so the output is high. Up to this point only. Then my sawtooth is larger than the input signal, and so my output will be low. Up to this point, and then goes high again, and it stays high up to this point. And then comes down, stays down. This point goes up again, stays high up to this point. Here comes down, comes up again at the beginning of next cycle. Over here, stays down high up to this point in time, comes down, stays down for a while, goes up again, stays high, comes down, and so on. This is my switching function. This is my PWM pulse width modulated signal. And the width of these pulses, this width depends on the height of the value of the arrow signal, the input arrow signal. The larger, the higher is the input voltage, the wider, the larger, the longer are these pulses. I modulate, I change the pulse width. This irregular square wave has a frequency, has a period that is given by the square wave, by the sawtooth waveform. You see, it starts at constant times. This is the switch. This is the switch. This is the switch. This switch is constant. At every cycle, my switch is closed. My controller tells the converter switch on the switch and turn on the switch, and after a while, it depends on the value of VE, this switch is turned off. Okay, so far so good? What happens if the input voltage goes above the height, the peak of the sawtooth waveform? Duty cycle goes to 100% and stays there. You saturate the modulator. What if your input voltage goes negative below 0? The duty cycle becomes 0. It does not go negative. Duty cycle is just from 0 to 1. So you can saturate. This is not the only way of implementing a PWM modulator, PW pulse width modulator. This is called single edge modulation, because the start of these pulses is at periodic times. and the end of these pulses is modulated by the amplitude of the error signal. So if this signal moves, the leading edge, the starting edge, the first edge, the rising edge is fixed in time, periodical, and the leading edge, the closing edge, is moved forward and back depending on this. There is only one edge that is modulated with this waveform. It's called single edge modulation. Basically, 90 and more percent of power converters, DC to DC converters, our converters, work with this technique. Single edge, trailing edge modulation. We only move the trailing edge, the leading edge is constant. If you put an scope and you synchronize with the leading edge, you see all the leading edges fixed and the trailing edges are moving forward and back, depending on the modulating signal. There is also the possibility to use the sawtooth the other way. The sawtooth could be something like this. And if the sawtooth is something like this, what happens is that you start with a 0, with a low, and you turn on a given point, and then you turn off a fixed point. You have still a single edge modulation, but this time the edge that is moved according to the modulating signal is not the trailing edge, the closing side, the closing edge of the pulse, is the leading edge. So you have single edge modulation, leading edge, single edge, leading edge modulation. Okay? It's not used, except in one case, some cases, very few cases, in PFCs and converters, but basically the same story. This is for DC to DC converters. If you go to AC to DC converters, that means inverters, that will be your class with Professor Musolino, second semester, second term, you will see that inverters, they don't use this waveform, they don't use a sawtooth, they use a symmetrical triangular wave. So for inverters, you have your carrier, is a symmetrical waveform. So when you have your signal, your error signal that goes up and down, you modulate at the same time both edges. And if this is called the single edge modulation, guess what's the name of this one? Double edge modulation. Double edge modulation has advantages for inverters. I never saw it used in power electronics. It's not wrong. There is nothing wrong with the double edge modulation. Simply it's not used. I don't know why. Yes, I suspect that is because at the very beginning of the electronics, when they started to build the first controllers, it was easier to generate this waveform than a good triangular waveform. So people got started with this configuration. Okay? In some cases, all these modulations, leading edge, trailing edge, double edge modulations, those, if you compare the input error signal with the sawtooth of the triangular waveform, this is called natural modulation. Natural PWM. And we don't say natural because it's always like this. In some rare cases, instead of having a modulator that is just like this, in order to avoid noise, because a switch mode converter or power circuit is always noisy, you could put here on the error signal a sample and hold circuit. You know what a sample and hold is? Say yes. Yeah.
Conceptual, yes.
Yes. That means at the beginning of each cycle, here, or I don't know where is the beginning for the double edge modulation, could be here, wherever you want. At the beginning of each cycle, this sample and hold takes the value of this input signal, error signal, and keeps it constant for all full cycles. So, what you get at the input of your modulator, if you use a sample and hold, in order to decrease the noise, to reduce the noise, is something like this. You have here this voltage that stays constant up to this point. Then you have this voltage that is constant up to this point. Then you have this voltage that stays constant up to this voltage. Then you have this voltage, then you have this voltage, and so on. Instead of comparing directly the error signal with the sawtooth, you are comparing the frozen version of the error signal at the beginning of your cycle, kept constant through all your cycle. It helps to reduce noises, but it generates a lot of troubles. I never saw used it in practice, in real world. A lot of papers on this kind of sample and hold is called uniform with PWM. The other one was natural, this is uniform. I never saw it used in real world. Why? Because this PWM modulator is inside our loop gain. Because our loop gain has this amplifier that has a transfer function. Then there is the PW pulse width modulator that has a transfer function, and then there is the power converter that has a transfer function. Now we know the transfer function of our converter. We don't know the transfer function of these two elements. Well, if you use a natural, no sample and hold PWM modulator, the transfer function is very easy. If you add a sample and hold over here, your transfer function of your PWM modulator becomes more complicated. It gets delay, phase delay, and just a pain in the neck to deal with. So everybody uses natural system. And for a natural PWM modulator, for our natural PWM modulator, do we have memory there inside? No memory. So there is a good hope that we have no holes passing through the PWM modulator. PWM modulator, the natural one, is just something that has no memory, no holes, just a gain. And the gain of a PWM modulator is not Q divided by V. Why not? Because Q is just a square wave. Yeah. Where's the information in the output signal? Duty cycle. The gain is just the change, the derivative of D, by the derivative of the variation of dE. That's weird because dd, if you print it, this d is Roman and this is Italian. This is in Italian it's called tondo, Roman, and this is Italian because this is not a right, this is a variable. But this is just the derivative of d as a function of dE. That means how much the duty cycle, the generated duty cycle, changes when you change the input voltage, and it's very easy. If your triangular waveform, your sawtooth wave, something like this, when the input signal T and the VE is over here, the duty cycle is T equals 0. When your input is here, duty cycle is 1. And so the variation of the output duty cycle divided by the variation of the input voltage is delta D divided by delta VE is equal to
1 over the amplitude of
1 over the amplitude of my triangle waveform, 1 over V triangle. And is measured in
1 over mod.
1 over mod. For old and not so old but not so very modern PWM modulators, this amplitude is around 3 volts. In some cases it can be even more. For modern PWM circuits, this amplitude could be smaller than this, could be 1 volt or even less. But the lower is this voltage, the higher is the noise impact of your circuit. So I like to stay with circuits that have 3 volts or more. In some cases they arrive up to 5 volts or so. Okay? And the gain of this PWM modulator, if the amplitude of a circuit is 3 volts, the gain is 1 over 3 volts. Or 1/3 of the watt to the minus 1. Okay? What if my V triangle, instead of being the one that I just draw, is something like this. It goes, for example, from 1 volt up to 4 volt. What's the gain in this case?
It's 1 over 3.
1 over 3 volts. It's still the same as before. We have an offset over here, but the gain is just the variation of the duty cycle, generated duty cycle, divided by the variation of the input voltage. So it's still 1 over 3 volts. In practical circuits, all the waveforms are something like this, because if you have a single supply circuit, you cannot go down to 0. So they prefer to go from 0, from 1 volt to 3 volts here, because if you have to shut down completely your duty cycle, you can inject here a voltage that is half a volt or so, and you are sure that your duty cycle is 0, guaranteed. So this is what you usually find, but the gain is still the same. Okay, this is just a constant. So, when we draw the gain, the body's diagram for a converter, let's consider, for example, a boost converter this morning. Buck boost, BCM, the shape is something like this. Here is 1 over 2 pi ESR times C. This pole is 1 over
the times RC.
pi RC, not 2. This gain, instead of, what was the gain, the original gain of our buck boost was something like V in times square root of R over 2 times the switching frequency L. Instead of writing this as a gain, I can include inside the converter gain already the PWM gain. Because in any case, the PWM gain, the PWM output goes directly to the converter. So, my gain, and this is what I suggest you to do, is instead of placing here just V in times whatever it is, you put V in multiplied by the gain of the PWM modulator. How much is the gain of the PWM modulator? 1 over V triangle. So we just put here V triangle. And so our shape does not change because V triangle is a constant. The only thing changing is this gain that has a different value. You divide by 3 basically, and has a different dimension. Instead of being a gain expressed in voltage, volt, it's a dimension extent. That's okay, but it's just a minor change. Important is don't forget this factor, and to avoid to forget it, just put it over here. So, my system now is something like this. Converter, output voltage, input voltage, here we put our compensator. This is an analog circuit, an analog amplifier. It has a transfer function. And we go to our PWM, it's a WM, and we go over here. Well, the gain that I expressed over there, the gain that I put over here, is the gain of my converter and PWM together. So, this is a dimensionless gain because it goes from a voltage to a voltage, and I am left with the design of this compensator. Compensator is an amplifier, it has a transfer function, and is what we have to learn how to design now. We use natural PWM modulator, so this introduces only a constant, 1 over PWM. If we use uniform PWM modulator, pulse width modulator, a sample and hold has a memory. It keeps an old value to be compared, and so it introduces phase lag. It does not introduce a hold, it introduces phase lag because it's a sample system, so you have to study it with the sequence form. Okay, let's see. Frequency, this is V naught over V error, my planned transfer function. And my planned transfer function could be something like this, for example. This is my plan. If I talk in terms of, if I speak in terms of control guys. For control guys, the object you have to control is called plan. Sorry, not plan. It's a plan. And I want to close a loop here around. For what reason do I want to close a loop here around? Because I want that my output voltage is a fixed voltage. It's a constant voltage, a precise voltage, and this voltage should not change if my input voltage changes, if my load changes, if my electrolytic capacitor changes its value, and so on. When you close a loop around a plant, the important parameter, the important quantity that you have to study is, in order to design a feedback system, loop gain or return ratio. Both, in this case, you can use both of them. You have to use to study, to define what kind of a loop gain you want. T. This is what I want, loop gain. And what are the important parameters for the loop gain that we have to obtain in this system? When you say, okay, I close a loop here around, I need to specify what kind of loop gain I want. For example, for sure I want a system that is stable. So phase margin, I have to guarantee a phase margin that is at least 45. 45 degrees is a good choice for engineering from an engineering point of view. So I need a given phase margin. What else?
Steady state error.
Steady state error. If I have a power supply that should give me 3.3 volts, I want 3.3 volts. I don't want the 3.1 volts. It's almost the same. No, it's not almost the same. If I need 3.3 volts, I need a steady state error that is small. So, what is the way to guarantee a small steady state error in a feedback system?
Or increasing the gain, or using an integrator.
Increasing the gain, the loop gain, or using an integrator. That means in a loop system, that means going to a system, a type 1 system, with one integrator. If I put an integrator in my loop, I get type 1 system. Type 1 system has 0 steady state gain for a step and a constant steady state error for a length, and cannot track a parabola. One integrator is fine. High gain at DC means low steady state error. Okay, that is the second point. One more. When you design a feedback system, you want it stable, so somebody told me phase margin. You want a precise system, especially here, because here we are designing power supplies. V0 for us is a DC, so we want this DC constant. We need a high, low frequency, zero frequency gain in our control system, in our loop. Third point.
The noise.
Noise? Good luck. Noise is a good requirement, but in a switch mode power supply, noise is very well, so we cannot have low noise electronics over there. It's like trying to whisper inside a stadium where everybody is screaming. Speed, bandwidth. Why do we want speed? Come on, speed. I want the DC output voltage. What is the speed mapping to this DC output voltage?
The variation of the input.
Because when the input change, we want.
Because if the input changes, we want to recover this change quickly, fast. Or another reason, even more common.
Because if we lose control, we can recover it faster.
I hope we don't lose control of our system. Control, by the way. I want to control it. I don't want to lose control of this stuff, but that can happen. Yes, they want to recover, but the recover from out of control, when you lose the control of your system, and the recover time is not depending on the bandwidth. It's depending on something else. Because when you lose the control, you have a non-linear system anymore. You have saturated something. Come on, you are close. I want to recover quickly from a change in the input voltage. That's okay, one more. I want to recover quickly from a change in the load. If the load changes quickly, I need to recover fast. So I need a wide bandwidth. Those are the three requirements we have. High DC gain, you get small steady state error. So my requirement for my T is in red, so let me write it in red. High DC gain for precision. Well, if you are measuring guys, you don't call it precision anymore, you call it accuracy. I want that voltage constant, not to wander in around. Then I want phase margin. For stability. I want bandwidth. I want bandwidth for fast recovery. Fast recovery from input voltage changes, from output voltage changes. What are my limitations? Well, I have two kinds of limitations. First, on the frequency axis, there is a point over here that is at switching over 2. From this frequency on, it's like in the old geographic maps, Ixunt Leones, there are lines over here. We don't know what is going on. So our model stops to work over here. Not only, but we have to stay quite lower than this switching frequency over 2, because here our model is not so accurate, and there's a lot of noise. We are getting closer and closer to the switching frequency, that means getting closer and closer to a big, huge noise source, and so better to stay a little bit lower. This will be our barrier, maximum frequency that we can reach during our normal working conditions. FC, crossover frequency, that is my limit of bandwidth, must be less than a given value. In any case, for sure, will be less than a switching frequency of 2, but it will be quite low. I will show you a couple of practicals. We have more complication in this system. We have to design a loop gain that satisfies this requirement. We have one extra complication, one extra difficulty. And this problem, this extra problem, is hidden inside the white transfer function, the Planck transfer function.
The phase merge instability, maybe the zero gives us problem if it's near to the cross.
The zero you're talking about?
Yes.
This zero can give me some small problem. Well, it gives me a big problem if you don't know this stuff. It gives me some minor problem because this zero is not fixed, but at least it's a left explained zero. You can use it to compensate this zero for phase margin. It's not used usually because our crossover is usually higher frequency, but it can help. We will see if it helps or not. It depends on the cases. Now there is a big problem here inside this white transfer function. Remember, this white transfer function is not any transfer function. This is a buck boost DCM transfer function, this model. Friday will be a buck boost, a buck CCM, etc. Today is what's the problem inside a buck boost transfer function?
Zero in right flank.
No. DCM, zero, this zero, there is only one real zero, one actual zero, one effective zero that is giving us, is there, and this is due to the output capacitor, so it's a good zero.
The moving pole.
Yeah! Pole is not a fixed frequency. Oops. Oops. This pole, 1/5 RC, moves right and left. I am trying to stabilize a plant that is changing under my fingers. It's not finished. This is the first problem. There's one more. There is not only this pole moving, but what is this gain expression? This is V in or V triangle at a constant 3 times the square root of R over 2 pi, no, not pi, 2 switching frequency L. The DC gain changes with the input voltage and the load. The pole changes with the load. Ouch. Tell me the magic word that you can use as a controller design, as a control guide that you could tell me.
Adaptive control.
Adaptive controller, sure. If you have a microprocessor, if you have a DSP, but if your system must cost 20 cents, the control system has to cost 20 cents or a little bit more, you cannot use adaptive control, even because if you are switching a very high frequency, let's say 300 kilohertz, 1 megahertz or so, you need to sample your output voltage 1 million times per second. That's a lot. Even more, because if you sample only once per cycle, you have alias problems. For a low frequency system, it works very well. For example, if you have to make a PFC and you have a microprocessor in your system that is doing something else, probably this microprocessor has enough unused computation power to drive a PFC. But usually, you can do it, but it's not easy. So, that adaptive control is a very nice solution. Unfortunately, not always is possible to use it. Actually, it's quite unusual to have a controller, a microprocessor that can handle it. If you are making a battery charger, that's okay. Batteries are so small, so long time constant. You don't have any problem. But we have to use analog systems right now. The to control this, to design this kind of transfer function, and my very strict requirement that I have to satisfy, well, I have to satisfy all of them, but my very strict requirement that is worrying me right now is this one. The crossover frequency must be not higher than a given value. Because if I go higher than that value, I start to collect the noise, I start to go in a region where my model is not correct, or so much correct anymore, and I start to get instabilities, erratic behavior, and so on. So this is absolute limit, a big wall I cannot pass. Then I need bandwidth. That means if I have to stay the same below, I give you a random number, 20 kilohertz crossover frequency, I cannot say, okay, less than 20 kilohertz, 2 hertz is less than 20 kilohertz, so I set the crossover frequency at 2 hertz. That is a bad choice, because if I set the crossover frequency at 2 hertz, I am okay for this, but my fast recovery has gone since a long time. So my bandwidth must be large as much as possible, but staying below this limit. I try to expand, to increase as much as possible my bandwidth without crossing this absolute limit. Then indeed, phase margin, to having stability, and a high DC gain. It means that overall, all these requirements suggest me, especially the high gain and the phase margin, suggest me that a good, it's not the best one, but it's a very safe way to design this stuff. A good way to design my T is to find the right chalk, and T, this one, should be something like this. It should be something, an integrator. If I can design a loop gate T that is an integrator with the right crossover frequency, I basically satisfy all these requirements. Because if I put an integrator in my loop, the DC gain is very high, so my system is accurate. Well, for precision, for high DC gain, or for an integrator. Somebody asked for an integrator. Okay, with an integrator, so my DC gain is very high, and so the system is precise. Then, phase margin. If I am able to get this kind of transfer function of loop gain, what phase margin do I have? If my T function is really this red curve. Yes. 90 degrees. If my system is a type 1 system with no other zeros and poles, it comes down with the constant slope, and when I cross over here, phase is negative 90 degrees, so my phase margin is 90 degrees. You asked for 45 degrees. Am I overkilling my system? Just a little bit, not too much. If you make any other design and they ask you for a 45 degrees phase margin, and you give them 90 degrees phase margin, they can answer, no, it's too much, my speed could be better if the phase margin goes down, etc. In this case, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, it's even a wise choice, because my model is not accurate, because my model forgot neglected all the losses. In my system, I can have other reasons of phase margin erosion. For example, if I needed to go through an isolated barrier to isolate the input from the output, for example, an octocoupler, my phase margin goes down more. So I can aim for a 90 degrees phase margin, and even if I lose 30 or 40 degrees from unexpected sources due to my simplifications, to my approximation I made during my calculations, my analysis, my modeling, even if I lose 40 degrees of phase margin, I aim for 90. I lose 40 degrees of unexpected phase margin, I still get 50 degrees. That's okay. So, bandwidth. Oh, this is a critical point. I want to have this crossover as high as possible, but not higher than this limit level. So, in order to find the controller, the compensator, to design my circuit that gives me this red bandwidth, I have to go to check what is the worst case for the maximum crossover frequency. I have to find out how to design this controller, and I have to check what is the case, the worst case, the most critical case that gives me the highest crossover frequency, and design for that case.